Good evening, Wetaskiwin, and welcome to another R&R News candidate interview. Today we have Steve Venardos. Did I say that right, Steve?
You certainly did.
Awesome. With us tonight, he's running for town council for Wetaskiwin, or city council for Wetaskiwin, and we're going to learn all about Steve tonight, about where he comes from, why he wants to be on council. That's the most important question. And his hobbies, likes, dislikes, a bunch of other cool stuff. And then we're going to have a part 2 with Steve on October 6th around 9 o'clock at night is the plan to release his part 2. And in part 2, we're going to talk about all sorts of city concerns, taxes, and all sorts of other stuff that you guys have wanted me to ask the candidates. So tonight is part 1. So welcome, Steve, to our talk today. How was your day today?
Very good, and thanks for having me today, Scott. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I'm glad you can be with me. I'm so happy that all of the candidates have agreed to interview. I was a little concerned that none of the people would be taking me seriously, but we are doing a serious thing tonight, and I appreciate you guys willing to come on and chat with a guy with a chicken on his head. So thank you.
Well, I think the least we can do is if someone's willing to put out the effort that you have, then that we can oblige to at least do the interview.
Perfect. Great stuff. Let's start off finding all about where you're from and what brought you to Wetaskiwin. And you can start as early as you like, from when you were young all the way up until till now. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, well, I was born in Jasper, actually. So pretty much one of the most beautiful places on this planet. I lived there till I was 4, just about 5, till we moved to Wetaskiwin. And we moved to Wetaskiwin in the early 80s, 1981, I do believe, to open up our first restaurant that we had here called Uncle Denny's Steak and Pancake House. So we started that 1981. When we first moved to town, we actually lived upstairs in the 6 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment for probably about 5 months till our house was done being built. And then we moved on from there. Opened up our second restaurant, same name, at just below Hungry Horse Saloon, or Ringer's, what it was called at the time. And then early 1987, we started 2 for 1 Pizza and Pasta, and I've been there ever since. So just about 30-some years now.
Nice. 2 for 1 pasta and pizza. That sounds delicious to me. You're making me hungry already.
That's good.
So you mentioned you have a family of 6. Tell us about your family a little bit.
My mom and my dad. I'm the youngest of 4, so my mom and dad still live in Sylvan Lake. My brother lives in Sylvan as well. My second oldest sister, she lives in Rocky Mountain House, and my oldest sister, she lives out on the coast in Abbotsford, BC.
Nice. And what about a spouse and children? Anything in that?
I do have just one wife, and 2 kids.
If you get into council, Steve, you can decree an extra wife for yourself, I guess.
No, I don't think that's a smart idea.
Sorry, did you say...
One is plenty enough.
Did you say you had kids? I
certainly do, 2. My son is 27, and my daughter is 17. She attends the high school here in town, and this will be her final year, so she's getting prepped to go to university.
Nice. And what's your son doing?
My son right now, he's still working at the restaurant. He's going back to do some upgrading now. He's decided that restaurant life is not for him, which I can't really blame him. It's not the easiest of lifestyles. It's a lot of hours, a lot of days. Especially during COVID.
I admire any restaurant that can survive through COVID is just amazing in my opinion. But...
I was extremely lucky during COVID. The restrictions really didn't affect me because I'm only a pickup and delivery service, right? So I was actually fairly lucky. I was one of the few lucky ones.
All right. Absolutely. Let's talk about your, let's skip around a little bit. I know I was going to ask you what your free time and hobbies are, but let's talk about your work background before business, or has it always been just...
It's always, actually, I'm a restaurant rat. We've had a restaurant, like I said, since I was 5 years old, so I've been in the kitchen since I was 5.
All right.
That's my daily routine, up at 7 o'clock in the morning and at work until we close down at 8 o'clock at night, and then that was at the Pancake House, and now at 2 for 1 Pizza, it was school in the morning and work till 10 o'clock at night and back home. So that's pretty much been my life.
Nice.
Work and more work.
So as far as education background, high school, did you do any post-secondary or any online courses?
Well, I finished my high school here, and then I did 1 year at NAIT Business School. And to be quite honest, it wasn't for me. It was not... it wasn't something that I could see myself doing in the long run. So I thought real world experience was a lot better off for me than the education side, but.
Same for me. I went through my whole adult life with YouTube, with a degree in YouTube University. That's what I have, and I was able to print my own diploma because I have a print shop. So I have it nice on the wall. YouTube University. I can say whatever I want about myself.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
There we go. Yeah,
you got a master's, a PhD.
That's right. It's all up there. Hey, if it's on the wall, it's true, right?
You got it. It's got to be, right?
So, how does Steve spend his free time, and what do you do for hobbies, Steve, besides cooking up pizza pies?
Well, for the most part, golf is where I like to be. I like to be on the golf course. It's a good place to talk business, to be able to get people out of their shell. It's, it can be aggravating at times. But other than that, I like working with my hands. I like building things. I like that satisfaction of a job completed, being able to see your finished product. And it gives that sense of accomplishment at the end of the day. So whether it's with metal or wood, I like building stuff around the house.
All right. And as far as your involvement with any community committees or volunteering in Wetaskiwin, do you have any stories to tell about that?
Well, for the most part, my schedule is pretty busy. It's get up, take the kids to school, go to work at 9 o'clock in the morning. And by the time I'm done, it's 1 o'clock in the morning by the time I get home. So for me, the extracurricular activities like volunteering and stuff, it's a little bit harder to find the time. I am a member of the Kinsman Club, and then I used to do a little bit of coaching for my daughter's soccer team when she was younger as well. But other than that, it's pretty much just work.
I think anybody who has a successful entrepreneurship business knows what it's like to not work Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day. It's 12, 13, 14-hour days, 7 days a week sometimes, myself included. And I know that there's very little time when you're trying to make your own business work, to have for other stuff. So I know where you're coming from there, Steve.
Nobody cares about your business more than you. So if you're not willing to be there and put in the time, it's hard to expect your employees to do the same.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And mine is a 7-day-a-week job. So it's 360 days a year, 7 days a week.
Right. And I know this question isn't necessarily on the list here. Well, it kind of is. But if you are get elected to council, Steve, how are you going to mediate your time? How does that come into play?
Well, right now I'm at that transition period now where I'd like to get out of the restaurant business. I've got another, hopefully only 3 or 4 more years to go. So I'm kind of transferring out. I'm bringing some more people in, and I'm willing to step away a little more, relinquish a little control, if one might say. So it's a hard thing for me to do. I like to have that control. I like to be able to have my finger on the pulse on everything. So it's been a little bit of a transition period for me, but with my daughter going to university now and my son deciding that that's not going to be the life for him, then it's kind of time for me to pass the torch a little bit.
Right. Well, before you retire, you have to turn it into like a 3-for-1 or a 4-for-1, and gift back to the community on all the pizzas. Actually, they order.
That's funny you say that, because when we first started out in the would have been probably early 90s, McDonald's had just come out with their pizza. And they put just a thumping on us, and we actually had to go to 3-for-1
all right.
for a while, because the drop in business was so drastic that we had to find another way to, of course, lure other or more customers back in again. So
for sure. Interesting. All right. And then now tell everybody in Wetaskiwin what they came here to find out probably tonight is, why does Steve Venardos want to run for city council?
One of the first reasons is, again, I'm in a transition period. So I think it's time for me to give back a little to the community that supported me for all these years, and not just me, but my family in general. There have been some issues for me on the front of how the city has gone about its business over the last number of years. So that's been one of my major issues. Of course, like everyone says, taxes are too high, or so on and so forth. So there's quite a number of issues for me personally why I would like to be on that council. I think that I think a little different than most people. I don't look at things the same way. So I think that would be a beneficial asset to have on city council. And I think that I'm not afraid to have that confrontation respectfully, but still have a confrontation nonetheless.
Right on. All right, great. This is pretty much concluding our part one of the two-part video, Steve. But before we say goodbye to the good folks of Wetaskiwin, yes, that's you. Tell them how they can contact you if they have more questions or want to reach out and ask you other questions that may not have been answered during the interviews.
Well, you can get a hold of me at my email address at elect.venardos@gmail.com. And you can also get a hold of me at Facebook at Steven Venardos. And my phone number is listed on the city's website under candidate information.
Perfect. Great. Well, then we will say goodbye to the fine folks of Wetaskiwin tonight, Steve, and we'll be right back for part two, so don't hang up or anywhere, but you can go ahead and wave goodbye to the nice folks of Wetaskiwin. Bye, guys. See you on part two.
Bye, guys. Have a good day.